never thought I'd be writing this, but after everything that's happened in the past few years, I need to get this off my chest. Some people have told me I should feel guilty about how things turned out, but honestly, I sleep better now than I have in years. This is the story of how my family threw me away like garbage, and how I built myself back up only to watch their entire world crumble while I stood by and did absolutely nothing to help. Petty, maybe. Justified, you tell me. I grew up in what looked like a normal middle-class family in suburban Connecticut. My dad, Richard, was a commercial real estate agent who did pretty well for himself. My mom, Patricia, was a stay-at-home mom who spent most of her time volunteering at the country club and gossiping with her book club friends. I have one younger brother, Jason, who is 3 years younger than me. From the outside, we probably looked like the perfect American family. Nice house, 2 cars, family vacations to Florida every summer. But behind closed doors, it was a different story entirely. See, Jason was the golden child. From the moment he was born, everything revolved around him. He was the son my father always wanted, the one who showed promise in sports, the one who was charismatic and popular. I, on the other hand, was the disappointing firstborn. I was quiet, bookish, more interested in computers and reading than football and socializing. My dad never let me forget that I wasn't the son he'd hoped for. Growing up, the favoritism was blatant. Jason got the latest gaming consoles, the nicest clothes, the expensive basketball shoes. I got hand-me-downs from cousins and whatever was on clearance. When Jason wanted to join travel basketball, my parents didn't hesitate to drop thousands of dollars on fees, equipment, and travel expenses. When I asked for a decent laptop for the programming classes I wanted to take, I was told we couldn't afford it and that I should get a job if I wanted nice things. I was 14. The emotional neglect was even worse than the financial disparity. My dad would spend hours in the backyard playing catch with Jason, going to all his games, bragging about him to anyone who would listen. He barely acknowledged my existence unless it was to criticize me. My mom just went along with whatever my dad said, never standing up for me, never questioning the obvious favoritism. I learned early on that I was essentially on my own. Despite everything, I worked my ass off in school. I maintained a 3.8 GPA, taught myself programming through free online resources and library books, and got a part-time job at 16 working at a local computer repair shop. I saved every penny I could, dreaming of the day I could go to college and finally escape that house. I had it all planned out. I'd apply for scholarships, use my savings for what wasn't covered, and finally be free. But life had other plans. The beginning of the end started during my senior year of high school. I'd been accepted to a decent state university with a partial scholarship for their computer science program. I'd need to cover about $8,000 a year after the scholarship, which I'd planned to do through a combination of my savings, part-time work, and maybe a small student loan. I'd saved up about $12,000 from 3 years of working at the repair shop and doing freelance computer help around the neighborhood. I kept my savings in a bank account that my mom's name was also on because I'd been a minor when I opened it. I kept meaning to open a new account and transfer everything once I turned 18, but I got busy with school and work and kept putting it off. That was my first mistake. One night in March, about 2 months before graduation, I came home from work to find my parents and Jason sitting in the living room with serious expressions on their faces. My stomach dropped. I knew something bad was coming. "Sit down," my father said, pointing to the chair across from the couch, where the 3 of them sat like a unified front against me. I sat, my heart pounding. My dad cleared his throat. "We need to talk about your future plans." "Okay," I said cautiously. "I'm planning to start at state in the fall. I've got the scholarship, and I've saved enough to cover most of the rest." My parents exchanged a look. "About that," my mom said, not meeting my eyes, "we need to discuss your savings account." Ice flooded my veins. "What about it?" "Well," my dad said, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, "Jason has an opportunity. He's been scouted by a prestigious private basketball academy. It's an incredible chance for him, could lead to a Division I scholarship, maybe even professional ball eventually." I stared at him, already knowing where this was going, but refusing to believe it. "The thing is," my mom jumped in, her voice taking on that wheedling tone she used when she wanted something, "the academy is expensive, very expensive. It's $25,000 a year for the program." "Okay," I said slowly, "what does that have to do with me?" My dad's jaw tightened. "Don't be dense. We need money for Jason's academy. Your mother and I have discussed it, and we've decided that the money in your account would be better invested in Jason's future. Basketball could be his ticket to success. He's got real talent, real potential, unlike your little computer hobby." I couldn't breathe. "That's my money. I earned it. I've been saving for 3 years for college." "You're still a minor," my father said flatly. "That money is in your mother's account too, which means it's legally accessible to her. We've already withdrawn it." The room spun. "You what?" "We took the money," my mom said, actually having the audacity to look slightly uncomfortable. It's already been paid to the academy as the first year's tuition. I stood up, my hands shaking. You stole from me $12,000. That was my money. I earned it. Watch your tone, my father snapped. We didn't steal anything. We're your parents, and we made a decision about family resources. Jason's opportunity is more important than you going to some mediocre state school for a degree that probably won't lead anywhere anyway. I turned to Jason, who'd been silent this whole time. You knew about this. He shrugged, not even having the decency to look ashamed. It's a really good academy, man. This could change my life. That money was supposed to change my life, I shouted. I worked for 3 years, every weekend, every summer, every spare hour I had. You'll figure something out, my dad said dismissively. Take a gap year, work full-time, save up again, or don't go to college at all. Not everyone needs a degree. You could work at that computer shop permanently, but Jason's window for this opportunity is now. Athletic careers have short timelines. I looked at my mother, desperately hoping she'd show some support, some understanding. Mom, please, this isn't fair. She looked away. Your father's right. This is what's best for the family. You're young, you have time. Jason needs this now. Something broke in me that night. Not just my heart, but whatever remaining attachment I had to these people who called themselves my parents. Fine, I said coldly, if that's how you want it. I went upstairs to my room and slammed the door. I spent the whole night alternating between crying and planning. I looked at my bank account online, confirming what they'd said. $47.52. That's what remained of 3 years of work. 3 years of saving every dollar, skipping outings with friends, working double shifts. I called the university the next day and explained that due to unexpected family financial circumstances, I needed to defer my enrollment. They were understanding and said I could start the following year if I reconfirmed by December. Over the next 2 months, I worked as much as possible, but I was also studying, not for school, but for my future. I researched emancipation laws, tenant rights, everything I could find about what happens when you turn 18. I squirreled away every dollar I earned in a new bank account at a different bank that my parents didn't know about. My relationship with my family during those 2 months was arctic. I spoke to them only when necessary. I ate dinner in my room. I avoided all of them as much as possible. My parents seemed relieved that I wasn't making a fuss anymore. Jason continued on like nothing had happened, excitedly preparing for his fancy academy. Then came my graduation. I graduated in the top 10% of my class with honors in several subjects. I had 2 tickets for my family. My parents gave both tickets to my grandparents on my dad's side because they'd be more proud of my achievement than they were. My parents didn't come. They said they had a basketball thing with Jason that same weekend. My brother was a sophomore. His basketball tournament was nowhere near as important as his older brother's high school graduation, but that's how it was in my family. I walked across that stage, shook hands with the principal, and accepted my diploma with my grandparents cheering from the audience. They were kind people, but they lived in Arizona and I'd only seen them a handful of times growing up. After the ceremony, they took me to dinner and gave me a card with $500 in it. They told me they were proud of me. It was the first time in months anyone had said that to me. I turned 19 in June, 2 weeks after graduation. I'd been born late in the year and had started school late, so I was older than most of my classmates. My birthday fell on a Saturday. I woke up that morning to complete silence. No happy birthday, no card, no cake, nothing. My parents and Jason had gone to some basketball event and hadn't even left a note. That's when I realized I was completely done. Over the past 2 months, I'd managed to save about $2,800 in my secret account. It wasn't much, but it would have to be enough. I'd also been quietly applying to jobs in Boston, about 2 hours away. I'd gotten a position at a tech startup that was willing to hire me for their customer support team, with potential to move into development. It paid $35,000 a year, which wasn't much, but it was a start. They wanted me to start in July. I spent my 19th birthday packing everything I actually cared about into boxes. Clothes, books, my old laptop that I'd finally managed to buy refurbished, important documents like my birth certificate and social security card that I'd stolen from my dad's office. I loaded everything into my beat-up Honda Civic that I'd bought for $1,500 the year before. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Since you've made it clear that I'm not a valued member of this family, I'm leaving. Don't bother trying to contact me. I want nothing from you, and you've made it clear you have nothing to give me. We're done. Op. Then I drove away. I didn't look back at that house. I felt nothing but relief. The first few months in Boston were brutal, I won't lie. The job offer was real, and I started 2 weeks after I arrived, but finding housing on my minimal budget was nearly impossible. I spent the first 3 weeks sleeping in my car in a Walmart parking lot, using a gym membership for $10 a month to shower, and eating nothing but ramen, peanut butter sandwiches, and whatever free food I could get from work. Finally, I found a room to rent in a house in a rough part of Dorchester. It was $600 a month, including utilities, which was the cheapest I could find. The room was tiny, barely big enough for a twin bed and a dresser, and I shared a bathroom with 4 other people. The neighborhood heard gunshots occasionally at night, but it was a roof over my head. I worked my ass off at that job. I was the first one in the office and the last to leave. When I wasn't working, I was teaching myself more advanced programming languages and frameworks. Python, JavaScript, React, Node, JS, everything I could get my hands on through free online courses and documentation. I lived on nothing, spent nothing, saved everything I could. My coworkers were good people. There was Martinez, a guy about 10 years older than me who worked in the same customer support role. He noticed I was always studying during lunch breaks and asked me about it. When I told him I was teaching myself to code, he mentioned that his roommate had just moved out and he had a spare bedroom if I wanted to split rent. His place was in a better neighborhood, and splitting a 2-bedroom would actually be cheaper for both of us than what we were each paying. I jumped at the opportunity. Martinez became my first real friend. He taught me about managing money, about navigating the city, about life in general. He was the older brother I'd never had. He introduced me to his circle of friends, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere. During this time, my parents tried to contact me exactly twice. The first time was about a week after I left. My mom called and left a voicemail saying I was being dramatic and needed to come home and stop this nonsense. I deleted it. The second time was 3 months later. My dad called from an unknown number, so I actually picked up. He yelled at me for abandoning the family and told me I needed to come back because I was making them look bad to their friends and extended family. People were asking where I was, why I wasn't at family gatherings, and they were running out of excuses. He actually said that. He was upset because my absence was inconvenient for their image. I said, "You made your choice when you stole my money for Jason. I made mine when I decided I didn't need people like you in my life. Lose this number." Then I hung up and blocked him. That was the last direct contact I had with any of them for over 2 years. 6 months into working at the startup, I got my break. The company was small, growing fast, and constantly understaffed. One of the developers quit suddenly, leaving them in a lurch on a project. I'd been helping out here and there with small coding tasks, building internal tools for the support team, and generally making myself useful beyond my job description. My manager, Sarah, approached me and asked if I thought I could handle some basic development work on the project. I said yes without hesitation. She gave me a shot, and I worked probably 80 hours that week to prove myself. The code I produced wasn't perfect, but it was functional, well commented, and I met every deadline. Sarah was impressed. She went to the CEO and they made me an offer, transitioned to a junior developer role at $55,000 a year. I accepted so fast I probably looked desperate, but I didn't care. That was a $20,000 raise and a foot in the door to the career I actually wanted. I spent the next year and a half absolutely grinding. I became obsessed with being the best developer I could be. I contributed to open source projects in my spare time, built my own projects to learn new technologies, attended every tech meetup and networking event I could find. I was building both skills and connections. The startup was in the fintech space, working on payment processing solutions for small businesses. It was actually a solid product, and the company was growing fast. By the time I'd been there for 2 years total, we'd gone from 15 employees to nearly 60. I'd been promoted to mid-level developer and was making $78,000 a year. I was 21 years old, making more than my father had made at that age, and I'd done it without any help from anyone. I'd pulled myself up from sleeping in my car to having a career, a nice apartment. Martinez and I had upgraded to a much better place, savings in the bank, and a 401k. I was even taking online classes part-time at night, working toward finishing my degree, which my company helped pay for. Life was good. I was happy. I'd built a chosen family of friends who actually cared about me. I barely thought about my biological family anymore. They were just a bad memory from a past life. Then on a random Tuesday afternoon in October, I got a Facebook message request from someone I didn't know. The profile picture was of a woman about my age with kind eyes and curly brown hair. Her name was Emma Richardson. The message said, "Hi, I know this is going to sound strange, but I think we might be connected through your brother Jason. I'm trying to reach him about something important, but he's blocked me on everything. I saw you in some old family photos on your mom's profile. Could you please give me a way to contact him or your parents? It's extremely important. It's about our daughter." I stared at that message for a long time. Our daughter. Jason would have been 19 now, same age I was when I left. I messaged back, "I haven't spoken to my family in over 2 years. I can't help you, but just so you know, my parents' names are Richard and Patricia, last name in town, Connecticut. You should be able to find them with that information. Good luck." She responded immediately, Thank you so much. And I'm sorry you're estranged from your family. That must be hard. I almost laughed. It's the best decision I ever made. Trust me, you're about to find out why. Again, good luck, you'll need it. I didn't think much more about it. It wasn't my circus, not my monkeys anymore, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious. About a month later, curiosity got the better of me. I created a fake Facebook profile and looked up my mother's page, which was public because she wasn't smart about privacy settings. I scrolled through, looking for anything unusual. I found it in a post from 2 weeks prior. Dealing with some unexpected family challenges. Please keep us in your prayers. Fold a dread. The comments were full of her book club friends offering thoughts and prayers and asking if everything was okay. My mom had responded to a few with vague statements about dealing with a difficult situation and people trying to take advantage of our kindness. I dug deeper looking at Jason's profile. It was set to private, but his profile picture was visible. He looked older than I remembered, more grown up. According to his info, he didn't go to any college. Interesting. I checked my dad's profile, even more locked down than Jason's. I was about to give up when I noticed a post my mom had been tagged in by her sister, my Aunt Carol. It was from 3 weeks ago. Standing with my sister Patricia during this difficult time. Some people have no shame trying to extort hardworking families. We know the truth. Family first, stay strong. Extort. Oh, this was getting interesting. I did what any reasonable person would do. I went full internet sleuth mode. I found Emma Richardson's profile easily enough. It was public. I scrolled back through her posts. There, from 6 weeks ago, was a picture of a little girl who looked about 2 years old. She had Jason's eyes, unmistakably. The caption read, "My whole world. Sophia, age 2.5, mommy loves you forever." I kept scrolling. Emma had a lot of posts about being a single mom, about struggling but making it work, about her daughter being her motivation. But about 2 months back, the post shifted in tone. After years of trying to protect him and not cause problems, I've finally decided to do what's right for my daughter. She deserves support from both her parents, not just me. Then a week later, filed the paperwork today. I'm terrified, but I know it's the right thing. Sophia deserves better. And a few days after that, to everyone asking, yes, I've filed for child support. No, I'm not trying to trap anyone or get rich. I'm trying to make sure my daughter has what she needs. I've done this alone for 2.5 years and I'm proud of that, but it's not about my pride anymore. It's about her. Jason had gotten a girl pregnant, clearly wanted nothing to do with the kid, and now Emma was coming after him for child support, and my parents were clearly circling the wagons, calling it extortion. I sat back in my chair, processing this. A niece. I had a niece I'd never met, and Jason was a deadbeat dad. I couldn't say I was surprised. I felt bad for Emma. She seemed like she was trying her best in a difficult situation, and now she was probably dealing with my family's particular brand of toxicity. On impulse, I sent her a message from my real account. "Hey Emma, I'm the person you messaged a few weeks ago about Jason. I've been thinking about your situation. I want you to know that if you're dealing with legal stuff involving my family, they're going to make it as difficult as possible. My father is very concerned with image and will do anything to protect Jason. Document everything. Every message, every interaction, every dollar you spend on your daughter. Get a lawyer if you haven't already. Don't trust anything they say unless it's in writing from a lawyer. I know this probably sounds harsh, but I'm speaking from experience. They're not good people." She responded within an hour. "Thank you for this. You're right, they've been horrible. They're claiming Jason isn't the father even though he admitted it when I first told him I was pregnant. They've got a lawyer who's trying to intimidate me into dropping the case. I do have a lawyer, but I can't really afford them and I'm scared I'm going to have to give up." An idea started forming in my mind. Probably a bad idea. Definitely a petty idea. But it was tempting. "What if you had help?" I typed. "Financial help for your legal fees." "I couldn't ask you to do that. You don't even know me." "You're not asking, I'm offering. My family stole from me to pay for Jason's basketball dreams. Those dreams clearly didn't pan out if he's not in college on scholarship. I'd like to invest in making sure he takes responsibility for his actions. How much do you need?" There was a long pause. Then, "Are you serious?" "Completely. I work in tech, I make decent money, and I don't have many expenses. How much does your lawyer cost?" She quoted me $5,000 to handle everything through the court case. I've paid $1,500 so far and I'm tapped out. I've been trying to figure out how to come up with the rest. "Send me your lawyer's information. I'll pay the remaining $3,500 directly to them. Consider it an investment in justice." I don't know what to say. Why would you do this? Because Jason should face the consequences of his actions. because my parents enabled him his whole life, and it's time someone held him accountable. And because a kid shouldn't suffer because her father is a coward. What's your daughter's name? Sophia. Sophia deserves better. Let me help make sure she gets it. We video chatted the next day. I wanted to make sure Emma was legitimate and not running some kind of scam. Within 5 minutes, I knew she was genuine. She was 21, had got pregnant at 18 during her senior year of high school. She and Jason had been dating for about 6 months. When she told him she was pregnant, he initially seemed supportive, even told his parents. But then he ghosted her, blocked her on everything, refused to answer when she showed up at his house. His parents told her to leave their property and stop harassing their son. She had the baby alone, worked 2 jobs while her mom watched Sophia, and struggled to make ends meet for over 2 years before finally deciding to file for child support. She had proof of everything. Text messages from Jason acknowledging the pregnancy, photos of them together, everything. And the kicker, Jason had never even met Sophia, his own daughter. She was 2.5 years old, and he'd never once asked to see her. I paid her lawyer the next day. Over the following weeks, Emma and I stayed in touch. She updated me on the case, and I got to see pictures and videos of Sophia, who was absolutely adorable and looked so much like Jason it was almost funny. She had his eyes, his smile, even some of his mannerisms from what I could remember. The case was going well, according to Emma's lawyer. Jason had tried to deny paternity at first, so they'd ordered a DNA test. He was the father, obviously, 99.99%. Then my parents' lawyer tried to argue that Emma had been promiscuous and couldn't be certain, but the DNA test kind of killed that argument. They tried to claim Jason had no income and couldn't pay support. Emma's lawyer subpoenaed his employment records and found he was working at a car dealership making about $35,000 a year. Not great money, but enough that he'd have to pay something. Throughout all of this, I got updates from Emma about how my family was behaving. It was enlightening, if not surprising. My mother had apparently shown up at Emma's workplace. She worked at a grocery store and caused a scene, calling her a gold digger and accusing her of trying to ruin Jason's life. Emma's manager had to threaten to call the police before my mom left. My father had tried to intimidate Emma by having his lawyer send threatening letters about filing harassment charges if she didn't drop the case. Emma's lawyer shut that down quickly by pointing out that filing for legitimate child support isn't harassment. Jason himself had tried to contact Emma directly despite his lawyer telling him not to. He sent her a long message about how she was being selfish, how he was too young to be a father, how she should have taken care of it when she had the chance. Emma screenshotted everything and sent it to her lawyer, which apparently helped her case significantly. The court date was set for January, about 2 months away. Meanwhile, my life continued to improve. I got another promotion at work, this time to senior developer, with a salary bump to $95,000. I was 22 years old and making nearly 6 figures. I'd also been approached by a recruiter about a position at a major tech company in their Boston office, which would pay even more. The contrast between my life and Jason's wasn't lost on me. He was the golden child, the one they'd invested everything in, stolen from me for. And what did he have to show for it? A mediocre job, a kid he refused to acknowledge, and probably still living with our parents. I took the interview with the major tech company, more out of curiosity than anything else. I liked my job at the startup, but the position they were offering was impressive, and the salary range they mentioned was $120,000 $140,000 depending on experience. I went through 4 rounds of interviews over 3 weeks. Then they offered me the job at $130,000, plus equity, plus benefits that were significantly better than what I had. I sat in my apartment, looking at the offer letter, feeling surreal. 4 years ago, I'd been sleeping in my car, eating ramen for every meal, wondering if I was going to make it. Now I was looking at a job offer that would put me firmly in the top 10% of earners for my age. I accepted. My start date was in February, which gave me time to wrap things up at the startup and take a few weeks off in between. My boss at the startup was disappointed but understanding. She actually told me she was proud of me, which hit me harder than I expected. I'd gotten so unused to parental-type figures expressing pride in me that it still caught me off guard when it happened. In December, I got a message from Emma. Court date is January 15th. I'm nervous, but my lawyer says we have a strong case. Thank you again for everything. I literally couldn't have done this without you. You've got this, I replied. Let me know how it goes. Actually, she wrote, I know this is a lot to ask, but would you consider being there? In the courtroom, my lawyer said I can have people there for support, and my mom has to work. You're the only other person who really understands the full situation. I hesitated. Going to that courthouse meant potentially seeing my family for the first time in over 2.5 years. Did I want that? But then I thought about it more. They'd thrown me away. They'd stolen from me. They'd chosen Jason over me at every turn. And now I'd get to sit in a courtroom and watch them face the consequences of enabling his irresponsibility. I'll be there, I told her. January 15th arrived cold and gray. I took the day off work and drove to the courthouse in Connecticut. I'd borrowed a car from Martinez because I didn't want to risk my family seeing my license plate and having any way to track me down. I met Emma outside the courthouse. She was dressed conservatively, clearly nervous, clutching a folder of documents. We hugged briefly. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I know this is probably weird for you." "It's fine," I assured her. "I want to be here." We went through security and found the right courtroom. Emma's lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in her 40s named Ms. Chen, was already there. She greeted us and went over what to expect. Then they arrived. My father walked in first, looking older than I remembered. His hair had gone grayer and he'd put on weight. My mother followed, clutching her purse, her face pinched and angry, and then Jason bringing up the rear. Jason had changed the most. He'd filled out, looked more like a man than the teenager I remembered, but there was something about his expression, a kind of sullen entitlement, that was exactly the same. None of them noticed me at first. I was sitting behind Emma, on her side of the courtroom, and I dressed differently than I used to. Professional clothes, better haircut, contacts instead of glasses. I looked like a different person than the beaten-down teenager who'd left their house. Their lawyer was an older man in an expensive suit who immediately started talking to them in hushed tones. I could see my father's face getting red as they talked. The bailiff called the court to order, and the judge entered. The case was called Richardson v. Last Name, regarding child support. It was fascinating to watch it unfold. Emma's lawyer laid out the case clearly and precisely. Jason was Sophia's biological father, proven by DNA test. He had not provided any financial support since her birth. He was employed and capable of paying support. She was asking for the state-mandated amount based on his income, which came out to about $450 a month. Jason's lawyer tried the strategy of painting Emma as vindictive, claiming she kept Sophia from Jason deliberately, that he'd been willing to be involved, but she'd refused to let him. Emma's lawyer then presented the text messages, all of them, Jason acknowledging the pregnancy, Jason promising to be there, then Jason saying he wasn't ready to be a father, Jason saying Emma should get an abortion, Jason telling her to leave him alone, Jason blocking her. She also presented the messages from earlier, the one where Jason said Emma should have taken care of it. The judge's expression hardened as those were read aloud. The judge asked Jason directly, "Have you met your daughter?" "No, Your Honor," Jason mumbled. "Have you attempted to meet her?" "No, Your Honors." "Have you provided any financial support for her care?" "No, Your Honors." "Have you purchased anything for her? Diapers, formula, clothes, toys?" "No, Your Honors." The judge sat back. "So you've contributed nothing, financially or otherwise, to a child you fathered. Is that correct?" "I was too young, I wasn't ready," Jason started. "That's not what I asked. Have you contributed anything?" "No." The judge looked at the financial documents. "You make approximately $35,000 per year." "Yes." "You live with your parents, is that correct?" Jason shifted uncomfortably. "Yes." "So your living expenses are minimal." "I guess." The judge looked at my parents. "Mr. and Mrs. Last Name, you're here supporting your son." My father stood up. "Yes, Your Honor, this young woman is trying to take advantage of him. She's—" "I didn't ask for your opinion on Ms. Richardson's character," the judge interrupted. "I asked if you were here supporting your son." "Yes," my father said stiffly. "Do you have a relationship with your granddaughter?" Silence. "Take that as a no," the judge said. "Here's what I find interesting. Your son has made approximately $35,000 a year for the past 2 years. That's $70,000 total. Even if he'd paid the modest sum of $450 per month in child support, that would have been about $11,000 total, leaving him with $59,000 for his own expenses, which he apparently hasn't needed much of since he lives with you rent-free. Meanwhile, Ms. Richardson has been working 2 jobs to support a child alone. Does this seem equitable to you?" My father's face was purple. He didn't answer. Judge looked back at the documents, then rendered the decision. Jason was to pay $475 per month in child support, plus $3,000 in back support for the period since Emma had first filed, to be paid at $200 per month in addition to the regular support until the back support was paid off. He was also ordered to maintain health insurance for Sophia or contribute to the cost if he couldn't get insurance through his employer. Total $675 per month. until the back support was paid, then $475 per month ongoing. My mother made a sound like a dying animal. My father's jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. Jason just looked stunned. "This is ridiculous," my father burst out. "He can't afford that." The judge's eyes turned icy. "Mr. Last Name, your son can afford it. What he can't afford is to continue avoiding his responsibilities. This case is concluded. If Mr. Last Name fails to pay as ordered, Ms. Richardson can return to court and we can discuss wage garnishment." The gavel came down. Emma started crying, but they were tears of relief. Ms. Chen hugged her. "We won," she said. "You did it." As we stood up to leave, my mother's eyes landed on me for the first time. I watched as recognition slowly dawned. Her face went white. "My name," she said, her voice barely a whisper. My father and Jason turned to look. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Hello, Patricia, Richard, Jason." "What are you doing here?" my father demanded. "Supporting a friend," I said calmly. "Emma, are you ready to go?" Emma, who'd figured out what was happening, nodded quickly. You helped her," my mother said, her voice rising. "You helped her sue your own brother." "Jason stopped being my brother when you stopped being my parents," I said. "When you stole my money to fund his basketball dreams. How'd that work out, by the way? I notice he's not playing Division I ball. Seems like you wasted my $12,000. People in the courtroom were staring now. My father grabbed my arm. "You ungrateful little." I looked at his hand, then at him. "Remove your hand before I have the bailiff remove it for you." He let go like I'd burned him. "You were always a selfish, spiteful little shit," he hissed. "We gave you everything and you." I laughed, actually laughed. "You gave me nothing, less than nothing. You took from me, but that's okay. I didn't need you then, and I sure as hell don't need you now. I've built a pretty good life without you. Great, actually." "Working at some computer shop," Jason scoffed. "Real successful." "Actually, I'm a senior software engineer at major tech company," I said pleasantly. "I start next month. 6-figure salary, equity, full benefits, but thank you for your concern." The look on their faces was almost worth everything they'd put me through. "Now if you'll excuse me," I said, "Emma and I have a lunch reservation to celebrate. Oh, and Jason, maybe actually try meeting your daughter. She's beautiful. She deserves better than you, but she deserves to know her father, or at least to be supported by him." I turned and walked out of the courthouse with Emma, leaving my family standing there in shock. We did go to lunch and Emma couldn't stop thanking me. "I can't believe you did that. Just face them down like that." "They have no power over me anymore," I said. "They haven't for a long time. I just needed to see it for myself." Over the next few months, things continued to improve. I started my new job and loved it. The work was challenging, my coworkers were brilliant, and the compensation was even better than I'd expected when bonuses were factored in. Emma and I stayed friends. She sent me regular updates and pictures of Sophia. Jason started paying the child support. My mom told Emma's lawyer that they'd help him with it, which I suspected meant they were paying a chunk of it. The irony of them now having to spend money on Jason's consequences instead of his opportunities wasn't lost on me. In March, Emma texted me, "You're not going to believe this. Jason asked to meet Sophia." "Seriously?" "Yeah, I think his parents are pushing him to do it, maybe for legal reasons. My lawyer said it's my choice. What do you think?" "It's entirely up to you," I told her. "But if you do it in a public place, bring someone with you, and keep it short. See how he actually interacts with her before you commit to regular visits." She took my advice. The meeting happened at a park, with Emma's mom there as backup. According to Emma, Jason was awkward and uncomfortable, clearly had no idea how to interact with a toddler, and left after 20 minutes, but he asked if he could see her again. "I think his parents are trying to rehabilitate their image," Emma told me. "Apparently people in their social circle found out about the court case, and it's caused some drama. They're probably pushing him to play the involved dad now." "Well, as long as Sophia benefits from it, that's what matters," I said. In May, I got a Facebook friend request from my Aunt Carol, my mom's sister. I almost declined it, but curiosity got the better of me. I accepted. She immediately messaged me. "I heard what you did, helping that girl go after Jason. I just want you to know that I think it's disgusting. Your parents raised you better than that. Family is supposed to stick together." I stared at the message for a moment, then replied, "Family is supposed to support each other, not steal from each other to play favorites. But thank you for reaching out. It's a good reminder of why I left." Then I blocked her. But her message got me thinking about the rest of my extended family. I'd had grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. Had any of them tried to reach out over the years? Had any of them questioned why I disappeared? I created another fake profile and did some digging. I found a post from my dad's sister, Aunt Linda, from about 6 months after I'd left. Does anyone know how to get in touch with my name? He's not responding to my messages and I'm worried about him. Patricia said he ran off but won't give any more details. If anyone has contact info, please let me know. I felt a pang of guilt. Aunt Linda had always been kind to me, one of the few relatives who treated me and Jason equally. I'd had her number blocked along with everyone else. I sent her a message from my real account. Hi Aunt Linda, it's me. I saw an old post of yours asking about me. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner. I'm fine, actually better than fine. I left home because of irreconcilable differences with my parents. I've built a good life for myself. I hope you're doing well. She responded within minutes. Oh honey, I'm so glad you're okay. Your mom said you'd run off and gotten mixed up in drugs or something. We've all been so worried. Can we talk, please? Drugs? They'd told people I was on drugs. I called her, we talked for 2 hours. I told her everything, the favoritism, the stolen money, being kicked to the curb emotionally and financially. She was horrified. I knew they favored Jason, she said, but I didn't know it was that bad. Your mother always made it sound like you were a troubled kid who resented your brother's success. She never mentioned anything about taking your savings. That's because she knows it was wrong, I said flatly. Aunt Linda sighed. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. What you've accomplished on your own is incredible, and I'm sorry none of us pushed harder to find out the truth. It's not your fault. They're good at controlling the narrative. We stayed on the phone while she filled me in on extended family drama. Apparently, the story about Jason having a kid had spread through the family, and opinion was divided. Some people thought Emma was a gold digger. These were the people who'd only heard my parents' version. Others thought Jason was a deadbeat, and my parents were enablers. These were the people who'd heard the full story or met Emma. The court case had apparently caused a significant rift. Several family members had stopped speaking to my parents over their treatment of Emma and Sophia. My dad's parents, the ones who'd come to my graduation, had been particularly harsh, apparently. They'd wanted to meet their great-granddaughter, and my parents had tried to prevent it. They eventually went around your parents and contacted Emma directly, Aunt Linda told me. They've been seeing Sophia regularly for a few months now. Your grandmother sends me pictures. She's adorable. She really is, I said, smiling. After we hung up, I felt lighter. It was good to know that not everyone in my family was like my parents. Aunt Linda and I agreed to stay in touch, and she promised not to share my contact information with my parents. Life continued. Work was great. I was getting to work on interesting projects, learning constantly, and building a strong professional reputation. I moved into my own apartment, a nice one-bedroom in a good neighborhood. I bought furniture that wasn't secondhand. I had money in savings, retirement accounts, investments. I was financially stable in a way I'd never imagined possible when I was sleeping in my car. I started dating someone, a woman named Rachel who worked at a different tech company. She was smart, funny, kind, and we connected immediately. When I eventually told her about my family situation, she was supportive and understanding. Her own family was close-knit and loving, and being around them showed me what a functional family actually looked like. In September, about 9 months after the court case, Emma called me in tears. What's wrong? I asked, immediately concerned. Nothing's wrong, she sobbed. Something's right. I got a promotion at work, a real one with salary and benefits. I can quit my second job. I can actually have evenings with Sophia. And it's enough that with Jason's child support, we're going to be okay. Actually okay. Emma, that's amazing, I said, genuinely happy for her. I couldn't have gotten here without you, she said. The child support made it possible for me to go back to school part-time last year, get certified in medical billing. That's what this job is, and none of it would have happened if you hadn't helped me with the lawyer fees. You did the work, I told her. You're the one raising Sophia, working multiple jobs, going to school. You're incredible. I just helped remove one obstacle. Well, I want to pay you back for the lawyer fees. It'll take me a while, but… Absolutely not, I interrupted. That was a gift, not a loan. Use that money for Sophia. Take her to do something fun, buy her books, save it for her future, but don't pay me back. She argued, but I held firm. Eventually, she accepted it. You know what's funny, she said. You've been more of a family to us than Jason has, and you're not even related to Sophia. Family isn't always about blood, I said. It's about who shows up. In October, I got an unexpected call from my grandmother, my dad's mom. Aunt Linda must have shared my number. Don't be mad at Linda, were her first words. I badgered her for your number. I wanted to talk to my grandson. I couldn't help but smile. Grandma had always been a force of nature. We talked for over an hour. She apologized for not being more present in my life, for not seeing what was happening with my parents. She told me about meeting Sophia and how angry she was that my parents had tried to keep her from her great-granddaughter. I told your father he was being a damn fool, she said. That girl is part of this family whether he likes it or not, and the way they treated you was despicable. I didn't raise him to be like that. It's not your fault, Grandma, I said. Maybe not, but I should have paid more attention. I knew about the favoritism, but I thought it was just normal parent stuff, you know. Every parent has a kid they relate to more. I didn't realize how bad it was. She asked about my life, and I told her about my job, my apartment, Rachel. She was thrilled. You did all that on your own, she said, pride evident in her voice. No help from anyone. That's remarkable, sweetheart. Those words meant more than she probably knew. Grandma and I started talking regularly after that. She'd call every couple of weeks to check in, share family gossip, tell me stories. She also sent me pictures of Sophia from her visits. It was surreal, getting to watch my niece grow up through photos sent by my grandmother, having no direct contact with her father. Around Thanksgiving, Grandma called with interesting news. Your parents are having financial trouble, she said, not sounding particularly sympathetic. Oh, apparently that basketball academy was even more expensive than they told you. They took out a second mortgage on the house to pay for all 4 years, and Jason never got that scholarship they were banking on. He didn't even finish the academy program, got kicked out junior year for bad grades. I processed this, so they went into debt for nothing. Essentially, and now with Jason's child support payments, which I know they're helping him with because he complains about money constantly, they're stretched thin. Your mother had to get a job. She's working retail at a department store. I felt a complicated mix of emotions. Part of me, the hurt 19-year-old who'd been thrown away, felt satisfaction. They'd bet everything on Jason and lost. Another part of me, smaller but present, felt something like pity. Your father's tried to borrow money from me twice, Grandma continued. I said no. I told him he made his choices and now he has to live with them. Was I too harsh? No, I said firmly. They wouldn't have helped me if our positions were reversed. They proved that. You're right, she sighed. I just wish things were different. This family is a mess. In December, I got a Christmas card from my parents. It was sent to my apartment. They'd found my address somehow. Inside was a generic printed message and a handwritten note from my mother. We're willing to let bygones be bygones if you are. It's been long enough. Family should be together for the holidays. You're welcome to come to Christmas dinner, Mom. Not an apology, not an acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just a magnanimous offer to let bygones be bygones, as if we'd had some minor disagreement. I threw it away. Rachel and I spent Christmas with her family, and it was lovely, warm, welcoming, full of laughter and genuine affection. Her parents treated me like I was already part of the family. This was what it was supposed to be like. New Year came. I'd been at my job for almost a year and was exceeding expectations. My manager told me I was on track for promotion to staff engineer, which would come with another significant raise. I was 23 years old, and my life was beyond anything I'd imagined when I was sleeping in my car. In February, on the 4-year anniversary of leaving home, I did something I'd been thinking about for a while. I wrote a letter to my parents. I didn't send it, I just needed to write it. You taught me that love is conditional, that worth is measured by usefulness, that family is only family when it's convenient. You taught me that I couldn't rely on anyone but myself, that I wasn't worth investing in, that Jason's dreams mattered and mine didn't. Thank you. Because those lessons, as painful as they were, made me who I am today. They taught me self-reliance. They taught me that I could survive anything. They taught me exactly what kind of parent I never want to be. I've built a life you know nothing about. I've achieved things you said I never would. I've become successful despite you, not because of you. And I've done it all without your help, without your approval, without your presence. You threw me away like I was garbage, and I took that rejection and turned it into fuel. Every doubt you had about me, I've proven wrong. Every limitation you tried to place on me, I've exceeded. I don't hate you anymore. I did for a while, but now I mostly feel nothing. You're strangers to me, the people who raised me, if you can call it that, but not my family, not in any way that matters. I hope Jason's life turns out well. I hope he becomes a better father to Sophia than he has been. I hope he grows up and takes responsibility, but that's not my problem or my job to fix. As for you, I hope you eventually realize what you lost. Not just me, but the chance to know who I became. You'll never know that person, because I'll never let you close enough to see. This is goodbye. I said it 4 years ago when I walked out your door, but I'm saying it again now with finality. We're done. We've been done. I'm just finally at peace with it. Your son, the one you threw away. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Writing it was cathartic. Sending it would give them too much power, too much insight into my feelings. Better to let them wonder. In March, Emma called with big news. She'd met someone, a good guy, she said, who worked with her at the medical billing company. He knew about Sophia from the start and didn't care that she was a single mom. He was actually great with Sophia. I'm happy for you, I told her, and I meant it. I wanted you to know because you've been such a big part of our lives, she said. You helped us get to a stable place where I could even think about dating, so thank you, again. You deserve happiness, Emma, both of you. Jason had been seeing Sophia semi-regularly by this point, about twice a month. According to Emma, he was still awkward with her, but he showed up consistently and seemed to be trying. My parents had met Sophia a few times too, though Emma said those visits were strained. They were civil but cold, clearly still resentful about the whole situation. They bring expensive toys, Emma told me, but don't actually engage with her much. It's like they're trying to buy their way into her life without putting in emotional effort. That tracks, I said. That's their whole parenting philosophy in a nutshell. In April, I got promoted. Staff software engineer, $165,000 base salary plus equity and bonuses. I was making more money than I knew what to do with, especially since I still lived relatively frugally out of habit. I decided to do something good with it. I set up a small scholarship fund at my old high school for students interested in computer science who demonstrated financial need. It wasn't huge, $500 a year for one student, but it was something. The first recipient was announced in May, a kid from a single-parent household who wanted to study programming but couldn't afford a decent computer or paid courses. The high school put out a press release about the scholarship, mentioning my name as the donor and my current position. I didn't think much of it. Then I got an email from Jason. Look at you, Mr. Big Shot, creating scholarships and making headlines. Is this supposed to make us feel bad? Because it doesn't. We always knew you were selfish and only cared about yourself. Giving away money to strangers instead of helping your own family. You're pathetic. I stared at the email for a long time. Then I replied, Jason, I give money to people who deserve it and will use it to better themselves. You've never qualified on either count. Lose my email address. Then I blocked him. But the email bothered me more than I wanted to admit, not because of what he said, but because it confirmed that they were keeping tabs on me somehow. They knew where I worked, knew about the scholarship. I mentioned it to Rachel, who I'd been dating for over a year at this point. They're probably just Google stalking you, she said. You're somewhat public now, with your LinkedIn profile and the scholarship thing. That's not the same as them having access to your life. She was right, but it still felt invasive. In June, my grandmother called with sad news. My grandfather, my dad's father, had passed away. Heart attack, sudden and unexpected. The funeral is Saturday, she said. I know you're not in contact with your parents, but I wanted you to know. I'd love to see you there, but I understand if you don't want to come. I thought about it. Grandpa had always been kind to me, in the limited interactions we'd had. He'd come to my high school graduation when my parents wouldn't. He deserved my respect. I'll be there, I said, but I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for you and Grandpa. The funeral was difficult. I drove to Connecticut with Rachel for moral support. We sat in the back of the church. My parents were in the front row with Jason. They saw me come in. I watched my mother's back stiffen, but they didn't approach me. After the service, there was a reception at my grandmother's house. I debated leaving, but Grandma caught my eye and waved me over. I went, Rachel's hand in mine. Thank you for coming, Grandma said, hugging me tightly. It means the world to me. I'm sorry for your loss, I said. He was proud of you, you know, she said. When I told him about your job and the scholarship, his face lit up. He said that boy made something of himself. I felt my throat tighten. I wish I'd talked to him more. He understood why you didn't. He wasn't happy with your father's choices either. I stayed for about an hour, talking with Aunt Linda and a few cousins I'd gotten along with. Several relatives I barely knew came up to congratulate me on my success, having apparently heard through the family grapevine. It was surreal. My parents stayed on the other side of the room the entire time. Jason too. It was like we had an invisible barrier between us. As Rachel and I were leaving, my mother intercepted us at the door. Can we talk? She asked, please. I looked at Rachel, who squeezed my hand supportively. I'll wait in the car. Once she was gone, I turned to my mother. What do you want? I want to talk to my son, she said. It's been 4 years. This family has been through enough without this rift continuing. This isn't a rift, I said calmly. This is a consequence. You made choices, I made mine. We did what we thought was best at the time, she said, and there was a pleading note in her voice. Jason needed that opportunity. And I didn't. You were always so independent, so capable. You didn't need our help the way he did. I laughed cold and sharp. So you stole my college money because I was too capable. That's your logic. We didn't steal. Yes, you did. You took money I earned and gave it to Jason without my consent. That's theft. And then when I left, you told people I was on drugs. You made me the villain in your story so you wouldn't have to face what you'd done. She had the grace to look ashamed. That was wrong, I admit that, but it's been 4 years. At some point, you have to let it go. I have let it go, I said. I've let go of you, Dad and Jason. I've built a life without you. I'm happy. I'm successful. I'm at peace. You're the ones who can't let it go because you don't like the narrative it creates about you. We're family, she tried. No, I said firmly. We're related. There's a difference. Family shows up. Family supports each other. Family doesn't steal and lie and manipulate. You stopped being my family when you chose Jason over me for the 1,000th time. I was just finally old enough to do something about it. So that's it, she said, tears starting. You're just going to cut us off forever. I already did 4 years ago. This conversation is just confirming it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have someone waiting who actually loves and supports me. I walked past her and out to the car, where Rachel was waiting. You okay? She asked as I got in. Yeah, I said and realized I meant it. I really am. We drove back to Boston and I felt lighter than I had in years. That conversation had been the closure I didn't know I needed. There was no ambiguity anymore, no question of whether I'd made the right choice. I had, and I'd do it again. Life moved on. Rachel and I moved in together in August, getting a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in Cambridge. Work continued to go well. I was working on increasingly important projects, mentoring junior developers, making a real impact. Emma's relationship was getting serious. She and her boyfriend, Marcus, moved in together in September. By all accounts, he was great with Sophia, who'd started calling him Mark. Jason continued his sporadic visits, but Sophia was clearly more attached to Marcus, who was actually present in her daily life. In October, I got a message from an unknown number. This is your father. Your mother is in the hospital. She had a stroke. I thought you should know. I stared at the message for a long time, feeling complicated. I didn't wish harm on my mother, despite everything, but I also didn't feel the pull to rush to her side that I probably should have. I replied, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope she recovers. That was all. He replied, that's all you have to say. She's your mother. She stopped being my mother when she chose to steal from me and support the decision to throw me out. I hope she recovers, but I won't be visiting. Don't contact me again. I blocked the number. Rachel saw my face. What happened? I told her. She hugged me. You get to feel however you feel about this. There's no right or wrong answer. I feel like I should care more, I admitted, but I just don't. That's okay, she said. You're not a bad person for having boundaries. I called my grandmother to get the real story. Mom had had a minor stroke, was in the hospital but stable, expected to make a full recovery. It wasn't as dire as my father had made it sound. He's hoping this will guilt you into coming back, Grandma said. Don't fall for it. I wasn't planning to. My mother did recover, though the stroke was apparently a wake-up call about her health and stress levels. Through the family grapevine, I heard that my parents were seeing a financial counselor, trying to deal with their debt situation. The medical bills from the stroke weren't helping. Meanwhile, my life continued its upward trajectory. Rachel and I got engaged in December on a trip to Vermont. It was perfect, small, intimate, just us and the snow and the mountains. We decided on a long engagement, planning for a wedding in about 18 months. I invited Grandma and Aunt Linda to an engagement dinner. I didn't invite my parents or Jason. It wasn't even a difficult decision. When word got back to them through the family, I got a long email from my father about how hurt they were to be excluded, how they were still my parents regardless of our disagreements, how I was being cruel and vindictive. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. New year brought new changes. I'd been at my company for 3 years and was getting approached by recruiters constantly. One offer was particularly intriguing, a senior staff position at a startup that had just gotten massive Series B funding, with an equity package that could be life-changing if the company did well. I took the meeting more out of curiosity than anything. The offer they made was stunning, $200,000 base, plus equity that could be worth millions if they succeeded. The role was challenging, with real leadership responsibilities. I talked it through with Rachel. It was a risk, startups often fail, and I had a great, stable job, but the upside was enormous, and I was young enough that if it didn't work out, I could recover. I took the job. My start date was in March. I gave notice at my current company, and they threw me a going-away party that was genuinely touching. Sarah, my old manager who'd given me my first development role, gave a speech about how I was one of the best hires she'd ever made and how proud she was of my growth. "You came to us as a support specialist who taught himself to code," she said. "You're leaving as one of the best engineers I've worked with. You're going to do amazing things." The new job was intense but exhilarating. I was helping build architecture for a platform that could genuinely change the industry. The team was brilliant, the problems were complex, and I was learning constantly. By summer, I was 25 years old, making $200,000 a year, engaged to an amazing woman, and genuinely happy. It had been 6 years since I'd left home with nothing but a car full of belongings and $2,800 in savings. Sometimes I thought about that scared 19-year-old sleeping in his car, eating ramen, wondering if he'd made a horrible mistake. I wished I could tell him it would all work out, that he'd be okay, better than okay. In July, Emma called with news. She and Marcus were engaged, and she was pregnant. "I'm terrified," she admitted, "but also excited. Is that weird?" "It's not weird," I assured her. "You're in a completely different situation than you were with Sophia. You're stable, you have a partner, you're ready." "I want you to be involved," she said. "You're like family to us. Sophia asks about Uncle my name all the time when she sees your pictures on my phone." Uncle, I had a niece who considered me family, even though we'd never met. It was surreal. "I'd love that," I said. We arranged for me to finally meet Sophia in person. Rachel and I drove down to Connecticut on a Saturday in August. Emma lived about 40 minutes from where my parents were, in a modest but nice apartment. Sophia was 3.5, bright-eyed and talkative. She was shy at first, hiding behind Emma's leg, but warmed up when I got down to her level and let her come to me on her own terms. "You're the one in Mommy's phone," she said. "You helped Mommy." "That's right," I said. "I'm your uncle name." "I have another uncle," she informed me seriously. "Uncle Jason, but I like Mark better." Emma looked embarrassed. "Sophia." But I just laughed. "That's okay. Mark is here more, right?" "Yeah, he reads to me every night. Uncle Jason just brings toys and then looks at his phone." Out of the mouths of babes. We spent the afternoon together, and it was lovely. Sophia was bright and funny, and it was obvious how much Emma and Marcus loved her. I could see Jason in her expressions sometimes, but her personality was all Emma, kind, thoughtful, resilient. As we were leaving, Sophia hugged my leg. "Will you come back?" "Definitely," I promised. On the drive home, Rachel was quiet for a bit. Then she said, "You're really good with kids." "Think so." "Yeah, you're going to be a great dad someday." The thought warmed me more than I expected. Fall came, and with it, wedding planning. Rachel and I decided on a medium-sized wedding, about 80 people, at a beautiful venue in the Berkshires. My guest list included my grandmother, Aunt Linda and her family, a few cousins, and Emma, Marcus, and Sophia. Rachel's list was 3 times as long. She came from a big, loving family. When my parents found out about the wedding through the family grapevine, because of course they did, I got a call from my mother. "Please," she said without preamble when I answered, "please don't do this. Don't get married without your family there." "My family will be there," I said. "Grandma, Aunt Linda, the people who have actually been present in my life." "Your parents should be at your wedding," she said, crying now. "I know we've made mistakes, but this is too important to exclude us from." "You excluded yourself," I said quietly. "Every choice you made, every time you picked Jason over me, every time you enabled and excused and prioritized him, you excluded yourself from my life piece by piece. This is just the culmination of choices you made years ago." "We can fix this," she pleaded. "Therapy, family counseling, whatever you want. Just please don't shut us out of this." For a moment, just a moment, I wavered, because there was a part of me that wanted parents who cared, who showed up, who celebrated my milestones, but wanting it didn't make it real. "Mom," I said, and my voice was gentle but firm, "you can't fix this. You can't undo years of damage with therapy or promises. You showed me who you are, I believe you, and I've built a life without you that makes me happy. I don't need you to complete it. I'm sorry, but my answer is no. You're not invited to my wedding." She was sobbing now. "Please, please don't do this." "I have to go," I said. "Take care of yourself." I hung up and blocked her number 2. Rachel had heard the whole thing. "Are you okay?" I thought about it. "Yeah, I am. It sucks that they can't be who I needed them to be, but I've accepted it. I've grieved it. I'm at peace with it." And I was. The wedding in May was perfect. The weather cooperated, the venue was beautiful, and we were surrounded by people who genuinely loved and supported us. My grandmother cried happy tears. Aunt Linda gave a touching speech about family being about choice as much as blood. Emma and Marcus brought Sophia, who was an adorable flower girl. Rachel's family embraced me completely. Her father told me during the reception, "I know you didn't have the easiest relationship with your parents, son, but you're part of our family now, and we've got your back." I had to excuse myself to the bathroom for a moment after that because I was tearing up. It was the happiest day of my life, and my parents and brother weren't there. And it was perfect anyway, maybe even perfect because they weren't there. No tension, no drama, no painful reminders of the past, just love and celebration. Life after the wedding was blissful. Rachel and I settled into married life easily. Work was going incredibly well, the startup was hitting all its targets, and my equity was looking more valuable by the month. We started talking seriously about buying a house, maybe starting a family in a few years. In August, Emma had her baby, a boy named Daniel. I sent flowers and a generous gift. She texted me a picture. "Baby Daniel wants to thank his uncle Naim for the awesome gifts. We're so blessed." Jason, according to Emma, had not visited or acknowledged his new half-brother. No surprise there. In September, I got an unexpected letter in the mail. It was from Jason, handwritten. "My name, I know we haven't talked in years and you probably hate me. I don't blame you. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and I realize how messed up our family was. How mom and dad treated you wasn't fair. I was a kid and didn't really get it then, but I see it now. I'm trying to be better. I'm seeing Sophia more regularly, actually trying to build a relationship with her. I've been going to therapy to deal with some stuff. I'm not asking you to forgive me or have a relationship with me. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. What they did to you, what I let them do, I'm sorry. I hope you're happy. From what I hear through the family, you're doing really well. You got married. You have a great job. You built a good life. I'm glad. You deserve it. Anyway, I don't expect a response. I just wanted to say that, Jason." I read the letter 3 times. It was the first time Jason had ever acknowledged any of it, the first time he'd apologized for anything. I showed it to Rachel. "What do you think?" "I think he's growing up," she said. "Whether that's enough to rebuild a relationship is up to you, but it sounds genuine." I thought about it for a few days, then I wrote back. "Jason, I appreciate your letter and your apology. I'm glad you're in therapy and working on yourself. I'm glad you're stepping up for Sophia. She deserves an active father. I don't know if we'll ever have a real relationship. There's a lot of history and hurt there, but I can accept your apology for your part in it. We were both kids in a toxic situation, and kids aren't responsible for their parents' choices. I wish you well. I hope you continue growing and healing. Maybe someday we can have coffee and talk, but I'm not ready for that yet. Take care of yourself and your daughter, my name." I sent it and felt okay. Not healed, not reconciled, but okay. It was something. The holidays came. Rachel and I hosted Thanksgiving at our apartment, inviting my grandmother, Aunt Linda's family, and a few of Rachel's relatives who didn't have other plans. It was warm and chaotic and full of laughter. This was family. In December, my company announced that we'd been acquired by a major tech corporation for a sum that made headlines in the industry news. The acquisition meant my equity was vesting immediately. I did the math 3 times because I couldn't believe it. Between my vested equity and the retention bonus they were offering me to stay through the transition, I was looking at a payout of just over $2 million. $2 million. I was 26 years old and suddenly wealthy. Rachel and I sat in stunned silence when the official numbers came through. "This is insane," she kept saying. "This is absolutely insane." We made plans carefully. We'd pay off Rachel's student loans. We'd buy a house, a real house with a yard and room for the family we wanted to have someday. We'd invest most of it for the future. We'd donate to causes we cared about. And we'd live our lives mostly the same, because money didn't change who we were or what mattered to us. In January, we bought a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a great neighborhood outside Boston. It had a yard, a good school district, space for everything we'd dreamed of. When we posted pictures on social media, Rachel was more active on Facebook than I was. The responses from friends were excited and supportive. I didn't post about the acquisition or the money, but industry people knew. My LinkedIn showed my company history, and anyone following tech news could do the math about the equity. Apparently, someone sent my mother a screenshot of the acquisition news, with my name mentioned as one of the senior engineers who'd been with the company since its Series B. She called from yet another number I didn't have blocked. "Is it true?" she asked when I answered. "Did you really make millions?" I should have hung up, but something made me answer honestly, "Yes." Silence. "Then we're losing the house. The bank is foreclosing. We're drowning in debt from